Today is Sunday on to djchristdtv show. Believe me, we will make your day. My name is Blessing Buba and my colleague DJ Christ D. And on my hot seat is Sir Robert Ramlat and Sir Kwanmu Shalom. We'll be right back. Alright, welcome, and I'm glad to know you all are still with us today. So today is Sunday and we're going to talk about how to make Nigerian election free and fair. And believe me, the guests we have today in the house, they're going to tell us more and what we are supposed to do to make Nigerian election free and fair. You all are welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Alright, people, before then, we want, sir, one of you should tell us what is election.
Yeah, thank you very much. As you earlier mentioned, what election is all about. Election has no definite definition. It depends on how a country operates. And as far as I'm concerned, we are Nigerians. Election can be defined as an act or processes of electing candidates into various elective offices where you have your executive and legislatures fully represented by the people. And that notwithstanding, when we are talking of election, we are not just looking at election within that perspective. We should be able to know there are some countries like USA which after election within the executive and the legislative arm and the judiciary too undergo election where the lower courts are elected to represent the interests of the people. But here in Nigeria, it's not done like that. Our election ends within the legislative and the executive arm where people elect their leaders to represent their interests, to protect their interests, where they designate dividends of democracy as expected.
Wow, that's interesting. Alright, sir, do you have any added divination to it?
Okay, thank you very much for having me once more. Though I don't think I have a contrary divination to this, what you have just said. But you know, really, in any concept, there is no generally accepted divination. Though he has defined it clearly, and I want to concur with his divination and explanation.
Wow, that's interesting. Alright, so we're looking at the way to make Nigerian election free and fair. Our viewers are glad to have you in the house, and this is going to be awesome. So sir, can you please tell us on your own view, what can we do to make Nigerian election free and fair?
Yes, once again I want to respond to your question based on what you have just said. To make Nigerian election free and fair, I think the only way is for the citizens to stand and defend their rights by trying to exhibit the rightful ways of their franchise. You know, the issue of free and fair election all bounce back to the electorate. Knowing fully well that there are principles attached to elections which has to do with rigging. But that notwithstanding, even in the Western world, we have rigging as part of the principle of election, but we can go a long way to curtail such things by trying to do the needful, so to say. So for us to have a free and fair election, I think the only way is to have a very sound awareness towards the electorate, telling them there is the need to defend and to do the needful, not to be robbed with either rigging or election malpractices or election vote buying as in our contemporary world today. So I'm with the hope and the belief that if all these are devoid of, I think we are going to experience a free and fair election.
Wow, that's interesting.
Okay, sir. All right, people, you hear that from him. So, sir, what do you have to say about the issue at hand?
Yeah, when we are talking of each free election, actually the fundamental cardinal point of view and the objective in which we intend to derive as a people is that if you value humanity, you value his right. And the right to humanity is what promotes his free election. Right? Now, for we to achieve his free election, one of the cardinal points I want us to understand is the major idea about election is to change any bad government. And in order to have good governance is for we to recruit the right people. How do we achieve recruiting the right people? Is when the right of the citizens, where franchise is exercised according to the rule of the game, as is enshrined in the constitution of this country, fully practiced, without any bias, without tribal sentiment, without regional competition, then we will get it right. But it appears why we are not getting it right today. Forget about the idea of rigging. Forget about the idea of vote buying. Forget about the idea of hooliganism, where talks will be used against one another. Forget the idea of the inadequate security attached to it, that we can get it right. But one of the major issues there is, how can we effect that change, that conduct in the life of citizens as far as for we to achieve his free election? The basic thing there is, if Nigeria will move from the millennium to digital and the global world we are today, where every constitutional right of every citizen should be defended as far as digital election is concerned, I think that will go a long way in reducing the manual way we conduct election. Imagine, even the INEC, who are claimed to be independent national electoral commission, today they are government electoral commission. And as an individual, how can you fight the government when they have the security with them? They have the money with them. They have every machinery they can defend themselves against the less privileged. Even the right candidate, even the people cannot even exercise their right. Talk less more of the right candidate who win election will be announced a winner. So, in order to curtail all these problems, to have a free election, until when we go back to a drawing board. And as far as we go back to a drawing board, the electioneering committee processes should be taken with carefulness as strategic measures to be taken to maintain this discipline, where awareness, the government, NGOs, and individuals who have the sacrificial heart to effect positive change should be able to educate the electorate on the basis of how they can maintain their right during election and after election, even though they do not have every legitimate right to follow to the end, but yet they should be able to stand very firm to defend their right in a way that the court should safeguard, because it's the last watchdog role where justice prevails.
Exactly.
If they can be very, very proactive in their areas of responsibility, where if election is rigged and money is used, people are deprived of their right as a result of security, either by the government or use of thuggery by politicians to manipulate elections. At least the better way, people should be educated to know their right, coupled with high rate of illiteracy, most especially within the northern Nigeria, where people do not even know how to read and write. Then they can easily be convinced and be confused. So all these things must be corrected for we to have his free election in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
And I don't do to what you just said. I think one of the cardinal principle which we will have a hitch-free election is our behavioral change. Because if we change our behaviors towards the electioneering processes, I think we are going to have a very good and clear hitch-free election in the country.
That's interesting. That's nice.
That's super awesome contribution there from our guest today. Okay, Sir Robert, please can you identify issue that could arise that to hinder the free and fair election?
Yeah, as we earlier said, rigging is one of the most problematic issue in Nigeria, where the right of the electorate is turned against them. People use money to manipulate election. People recruit thugs to manipulate election. People buy votes to manipulate election. People intimidate the electorates during election. People use the security to scare the electorates, and that will result to gerrymandering. You understand?
Yes.
At the same time, when there is the gerrymandering, people from different wards will go to another ward to cause confusion while they do not have a voter's card to vote there, and they do not have any impact to create there. Why must they leave their ward to another ward? So these are some of the issues that will bring about problem to do with to hinder hitch and free election in Nigeria.
Wow.
Until when all these things is curtailed and